Alright, so this is my program. It's a very simple inventory management system that uses a cloud database to read and write data. It uses Java Swing to create a very simple UI. And so I will walk through the code here. There's some initializing variables that we use throughout the main class. We have this init initialize here, which as you can see is part of the Firebase initialize. It calls that function so it initializes the connection with the database right off before we do anything. And so as we go down here, we can see we're adding or making some new items that are going to be displayed. We have this save button, which as you can see here calls a function from our Firebase service. What it does, it takes all of the items and their, as you can see, the item name and the item amount, and it stores that in a map, a hash map, and sends that hash map to our database. And that's how it's saved. We go down a little bit more. We have our load button in Action Listener. It removes everything that's currently on the screen so we can have a full refresh. And then it takes the items from the database and makes a new item with those values that we have stored in the hash map. And then it displays it all. So it's a complete refresh of everything on the screen. And all the rest of these commands are just allowing for refreshes at the right times so that we can update the information on the screen as it comes in. So as we go over to our item class, this is responsible for getting information from the user. Very similar to the last, as it is very functionality is similar, except that it takes in information and it pops up in a dialog, and I'll show you here in just a little bit what that looks like. We have our Firebase service. Like I said before, we have a save item function and a load item function. Believe it or not, this one saves and this one loads from the database and allows us to get that information. And here's that Firebase initialize function that we call very early on. So I will show you now what my management system looks like. So when it boots up, there's nothing here. If you want to see what is currently stored in the database, we can press load. And it's going to grab that information from the database and populate it with items with that corresponding data. As you can see here, if we press new item, we get this pop-up box, and we can put in anything we want here. Deodorant. And we have lots of these, so 1,000 of them. And we can see that pops up here. And you can see, just barely, we have a scrollable window here. If we had more items, like drones, and there was 3 drones, we can see that it dynamically resizes to however big we need that middle to be. So we have this information, we want to save it, so we press this save button. And now if we look at our database, it's going to have all the same things as what was there. You can see the drones and deodorant right here. And so if we delete all of our data and we want to load it again, it's going to grab it from the database. And we can see that we have the same things we saw in the database there. Here we can increment and decrement these values. And if, say, we can even delete them. And if we want to save our changes, we do the same process. We don't even have to delete all of these. We can just press load, and you can see that it updated. And that's pretty much all that I have for my project. This was made in Java, obviously, as I showed you through the code. I think it would be really cool if I scaled this up a little bit and had a search bar so I could search through all of my items here. And I believe that is everything I have to show about this project.